Hey you all, welcome to my humble channel. You don't know me, I don't know you, so call me Hi Alphion. And recently I got an interesting video recommendation in my feed. No, it is not the Candyberg video. That being said, I'm working on a video for that. Yeah, the video I got recommendation from channel called deathbattle. Damn, it's been so long I visited their channel since their last video I saw was Lich King vs Sauron. Well, the video in question is this. Wait, the Genshin Impact guy is actually cool. And who do we have here? It's our boy Aether and Paimon. And then it hit me like all those mid-lob MC getting trucked before a start of an isekai anime. Did not they announce Aang vs Aether like in 2024 during Save Dead Battle Kickstarter? I remember that. So today we are going to watch two of their video, one about Aether and another one about Aang, and I've decided to start with Aang video first. The reason is pretty simple. My knowledge of Avatar is honestly pretty limited, and if I'm going to come to any sort of conclusion whether Aether could defeat Aang, I need to understand Aang, his ability and what he is capable of first. As it wouldn't be exactly fair to judge the matchup when I barely know anything about one of the fighters, right? So, let's start with Aang and see what our boy Aether would be dealing with.
Water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived in harmony, united by a master of the elements, the Avatar.
This Avatar reincarnated as different people for centuries, all with their own struggles. And man, was that true for our boy Aang.
If I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, an avatar starts with his native element. Here in case of our buddy boy Aang, he is an airbender and he had to learn the other three elements, right?
Not at first, of course, thanks to his master and guardian, Yatso.
As a cheeky little air nomad, Aang traveled the world causing shenanigans, all while learning to control the winds with airbending.
Based on the real-life martial art Bagua Zhang, airbending is the most spiritual of the four bending styles.
If you don't know, Bakwazhou is the same real-life martial art style which is the inspiration for Hyuga clan's signature fighting style, the gentle fish in Naruto. Just a random fact, I guess.
Focusing on evading and diverting attacks through circular motions. With even the smallest movement, Aang can create tornadoes, run like the wind, and block hypersonic explosions.
The perfect style for a twinkle-toed goofball like Aang. He even invented his own technique, the air scooter. How does he not fall off that thing?
Wait, let me just quickly add the John Cena meme sound effect.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Add in a glider staff for flight, and the sky was the limit. But you know how it goes. Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Their conquest spread, war was inevitable, and Aang was the only one who could save the world.
Yeah, he wasn't happy with all that, and being forcibly separated from Gyatso. He was just a kid, so he froze up. Like, literally, he accidentally froze himself in his adorable Sky Bison Appa for 100 years.
Oh yeah, the whole Avatar incarnation thing. Well, the problem was that Aang was still alive, and he was the Avatar, right? He was frozen but not dead. So there was no new Avatar incarnation to maintain the balance and order of the world, which gave the Fire Nation a free rein to practically fuck up every other nation due to that.
Till he was awakened by the Water Tribe siblings Katara and Sokka. Time wasn't kind to Aang's people. With no Avatar to keep balance, the Airbenders, Aang's entire culture, were wiped out by the Fire Nation.
Oh, that's rough, buddy.
Damn. Imagine waking up and finding out your entire people got wiped out from the face of the earth a few decades ago because you didn't want to become the Avatar. Not comparing on which one have more tragic past, but Aether at least have his sister Lumin. Well, it is another thing that our bit sober sister didn't want to go back with us and send us to explore the world first by saying,
Listen to me, Aether. I have already traveled through this world once. Once you reach the end of your journey as I did, you will see for yourself the true nature of this world. So we'll meet again. Though we need not rush, brother. I have more than enough time to wait for you. We have always had enough time.
That's rough, buddy.
But Aang took the wake-up call to heart.
As the Avatar, it's Aang's duty to understand the world's people, learning their cultures, their sadness, joy, and humanity.
And what better way to do that than learning how they kick ass?
From the Northern Water Tribe and his twin Crush, Aang learned waterbending. Themed around fluid Tai Chi movements, this style controls liquid in all forms to freeze targets, create water whips, and even cut through steel.
Learning earthbending was way tougher, but Aang's friend Toph taught him to stop being a wimpy pushover. Now he can armor himself in stone, move the terrain of entire cities, and fight blind with a sonar-style seismic sense.
Earthbending is themed around the steady stances of Hung Quan Kung Fu, waiting for the right moment to strike head-on.
There was a lot to learn, but even with the world at stake and this moody hothead on his tail, Aang had fun doing it. Who could forget the adventures penguin sledding?
Huh? Those are penguin? I thought those look like otters. Oh, wait a minute. They are literally called shedding otter penguin. Otter bird. A quick question. Does it lay egg or give birth or lay?
Going through the bending bayous and living in Ba Sing Se, the city where no wars ever happen.
Yet across his journey, one power eluded Aang, the Avatar state, an enhanced mode of being that came to him in moments of peril.
Sure, if Aang dies in it, the Avatar cycle ends permanently, but who cares when it gives you enough power to wipe out a whole Navy fleet?
So, it's a double-edged sword. You get ultimate power, but if you get killed in this death, the cycle of reincarnation ends with you. Well, that sounds fair enough, I suppose.
Come on, Boomstick. The Avatar state is more than just a power amp.
Ah, who's there? Wiz, there's been a breach!
I've been here the whole time!
Wiz, toss me my backup gun! And my backup gun!
Boomstick, that's Jocelyn. Remember the other smart one?
Yeah, that's why I was shooting welcome shots with welcome bullets into that hopefully not important computer.
Oh, damn it. If that shuts down, we're going to have to cover Aang's opponent, the Traveler from Genshin Impact, next week, and I really don't want to wait.
Now, that's being wrapped up. I would say Aang is pretty close to winning against Aether, or might even win if Aang goes to his avatar state. But as I am more acquainted to Genshin Impact as I've been playing it for past few years now, obviously, I do kind of favor more for a Aether victory. Bias? Kind of. And why do I think the Traveler might win? Well, it is true that Traveler still is in his nerf state and in process of slowly recovering his lost power as the story progressed. And yet, even without his full strength, he can still keep up with god tier entity, like we just went from not being able to save Benti from Signora in Mondstadt to defeating her in Inazuma. And the Nordcry was true extent we learned how much Traveler has grown. He fought alongside his comrade against Rarier, one of the 5 sinners, who could practically destroy whole of the VAT. I know Traveler is not one of those overpowered MC that could solo everything. As for yet, he cannot even consider as the strongest in his own verse, as it is in the process of slow build-up and recovery of his power continue. With time, he will only grow stronger. And as we got to see what he is capable of when he was going up against Dottores base form and the Neo-God form. And in the ending of Nordcry, we also received some upliftment of our restrictions from Columbina.
Oh, and I have something for you, too.
For me?
Yes. Come closer.
What was that?
I lifted some of the restrictions this world placed on you. I trust this will help in your future adventures.
My power. It feels like it's grown. I can use the elements more freely now. Thank you. This will be a great help.
You're welcome. I see you as family, and after everything you've done for me, In fact, no. It's not because I owe you. It's because you're worth it.
I know Mr. Waifu would get into more detail in the video, so enough yapping, let's get into it.
Do you hear it? The hell clock is ticking. It's calling for you. Yes, the you who is deep into action RPG games.
Alright, it is just one of their sponsor. I legit thought for a second I clicked the wrong video.
But also wants to go fast. The you who wants the depth of Path of Exile at roguelike speed. This is Hellclock Cursed War, the sponsor of this video. Blast through dungeons and gain inhuman power in this dark retelling of the history of Brazil. You heard that right, straight from the same Brazilian studio that made Relic Hunters. The Hellclock is ticking. Check it out right now on Steam, Xbox, or PlayStation 5.
Hellclock look pretty cool. If you guys are interested, might try it, I guess. Okay, now we are starting it.
Add extra barbecue sauce.
Add Astra Abasasque.
No. It is add extra applesauce.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Welcome to Tevat, a mysterious land governed by godly archons that drew the eye of someone beyond the stars, Aether.
AKA the Traveler.
Okay, I actually really like how they included all the travelers title here, which is pretty neat, especially the Grams. Though I don't see Golden Nara here. Did they sleep on our Nara quest? I mean, it is pretty short quest really. You guys should go and do that quest too if you guys haven't done it.
Who escaped his dying world with his sister Lumine in search of the flowers that bloomed on their lost home, only to crash land, awaken to an apocalypse, and get cubed by this jerk.
Separated from his sister, Aether awoke, again, in a new, less apocalyptic age.
My guy here woke up after a 500-year-long sleep only to realize he got stripped of his power and with no sis. See what I did there? No sis. Okay, I'll stop. But hey, what is the genshin video if there is no couple of Sinozog in it?
And fished up his own pathetic pet pixie, Paimon.
What? Paimon is not just a pet pixie, Paimon is the best travel companion in whole of the bed. Also, the emergency food. And in fact, a whole full course gourmet meal if she turned out to be the heavenly principal.
Yeah, she makes for good emergency food. With his new guide, Traveler to the windy country of Mondstadt to find his link to the past, but got a Breath of the Wild glider instead.
And his first element, Animo, letting him make air slashes, tornadoes, and of course,
Windblade! But guess what? Traveler wasn't the only one with the power like this. Tevat was full of blessed people wielding these relic things called visions.
vision bearers can imbue their weapons and bodies with elemental power, summon items, and use a special, vision to perceive the elements around them.
Now, in Tibet, while other people obtain vision of specific element through their sheer will and desire, the traveler here can literally just resonate every type of element, like everything, through the statue of Saban. And we also need to take in account that are we just using the lore-wise tech, or in-game playthrough tech, or both?
Normally, they're limited to a single element, but Traveler is just built different. Through Paimon's guidance, he began collecting elements from mysterious statues across Tevat. No vision relic needed for him.
Each nation had a new culture, a new element, a new crisis.
And new character banners. When asked to play a sleuth for a murder case in Liyue, Traveler wasn't interested. A corpse couldn't tell him where his sis was, but
Yeah, but in this case, both the corpse and the one who faked his own death with his fake corpse could not tell it.
he was roped in anyway and got the geo ability to form rock constructs and eruptions of Earth.
When Aether ventured to Inazuma, he didn't care about its war with the vision bearers and their archon either, until he saw the suffering caused by its tyrannical rule, and joined the resistance with electro abilities.
Rest in peace, Tepe. You were a good soldier, and you'll always be in our heart.
Fighting the powers that be using electric buzzsaws, thunder blades, and lightning.
He even learned to dodge lightning. Other electro users like my wife Lisa can conjure storms. No shock when my adopted daughter Klee made explosions that raised mountains.
So it seems like we are following a more lore approach on this deck. And not to mention, Lisa was literally invited to join the Hexen Circle, and she just refused by saying she has no interest in joining them. And Klee, she fucking blew up the poor Primogeo Bishop till he dropped his head and she sent it to us in her birthday mail.
Traveler met all kinds of people like this. You know the type. Twinks.
Yeah, Tevat has its own laws, Boomstick. Many twinks being one of them. Maybe 2 or 3 of them, actually.
Ringmaster.
Shut up, Wiz. This guy's been playing Genshin since launch.
I know everything there is to know about the Genshin meta. Either can mix elements for different reactions. Basically, big elemental combinations.
Alright, I'll just put up the elemental reaction chart over here.
Geo crystallizes materials into special barriers. Electro mixed with water stuns foes. Animo spreads elements around in swirls of destruction. Boom!
Like how I combine beer and gunpowder.
Exactly, Boomstick. Using Dendro, Traveler can form plant life that, when mixed with water and lightning, makes homing beams. Yeah, run from that. With enough clever thinking and artifact farming, you
Yeah, good luck getting the right artifact with right stat, cause it wouldn't give you a damn usable artifact till you burn thousands of resin in the same domain.
can combine anything in Genshin.
Okay, we get it. Go lose another 50-50, you whale.
I'll show you a whale. Drop one on your lap next time you're not around.
In Sumeru, Traveler later beat Scaramouche, an edgy catboy with multiple elements at his fingertips, all in a time loop that got repeated 168 times.
Speaking of time, Aether had control of more than just his own future. Tevet's fate fundamentally changed in ways small and grand, all through his unending willpower.
Because the Traveler was a descender, someone unbound by the land's destiny. Even this big tree that records all of the world's events had no idea he existed.
Yeah, thanks to a fucking virus called Otore, we burned that entire shit down and now it is replaced by Aru as a new processing hub for Tevat's network.
Like when he helped defy the judgment of a biblical flood in Fontaine, where he mastered Hydro for his best Cuphead impression with water bullets.
Heck, a dinosaur chose not to blow up the world just because Paimon and Traveler befriended it. If that wasn't cool enough, Traveler can, unrelated, turn into a dinosaur. Hell yeah! Yo, look at him. Wonder if I could get a dinosaur on my Genshin team. Ringmaster, check it out.
Sure, let me. Wait, you're running a rainbow team?
I mean, for an overworld team, you don't really need to follow meta, but why is your Lisa still level 80 though?
Is Dia supposed to be your sub DPS? Just use Durin, man. You don't even have another Geo character to capitalize with Navia. And why is Lisa here?
Because I love her.
Okay, let me just improve this by.
You better not!
You have no support!
I mean, if we are going meta, why not just use Lunar Crystallized team with Navia, Furina, Colombina, and Zivai? If not, why not just use Navia, Yelan, Furina, and Zelonin? Just saying.
Have you seen Yelan? I love her as well.
Yeah, I'll just sit this one out. Come back next time for the battle between Traveler Aether and Avatar Aang.
So that is it. And next time we'll react on the death battle itself and see who comes out on top. Peace.